We're talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween. Hey everyone. I am
Yes,
going to
hello everybody.
I'm gonna attempt to draw this child that plays Michael Myers. Whew.
We got notes, people.
I don't even well, I'll tell you what I said in the text. My very first note is that this is exhausting because the movie just jumps right in to the worst home situation I've ever seen.
Somebody around here's got to make some money.
I'm all broken up here, bitch. I can't work. Jealous young daughter's ass, huh?
Pig.
Ah! You fucking whore!
And you're just like, why is this family so horrible? And then it's just it stressed me out.
Constant screaming,
Mhm.
constant yelling, constant swearing at each other and like
Constant
threatening
swearing.
each other. I sent you my old copy because
Mhm.
my brother had given me the Halloween box set that had those, so I gave you my old DVD.
Uh,
And I bought it there when it was on sale for like $3.
I'm so glad to hear that that is all you spent.
And I was like, okay, it's $3. I'm gonna watch it. I know it's not gonna be good, but it
Mhm.
has Daniel Harris.
Right.
And then I'll know, and then I can properly shit on
Yes,
it.
you make an educated decision. This was one of the first things I learned about you, and I was like, I love this girl because not many people acknowledge that to properly
Yeah.
hate something, you have to know it.
I love Daniel Harris in this movie. I fucking love Brad Dourif, who plays her dad. I wish his Sheriff Brackett was in the original. Like, I would love to see him and like the good Dr. Loomis.
Yes, this doctor, oh my God.
Like, if anything, he does his job too fucking good.
Yeah.
Found the baby who is Lori,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, I didn't want her to like grow up like with all this, so I just didn't report her
Yeah, I love how he's
in
like,
there.
I just left the baby out of the police report, and I'm like, okay.
And then I just like drove her myself like 3 hours and dropped her off at an orphanage.
Like,
But then his friends, aka Lori's adopted parents, the Strodes, apparently drove 3 hours to adopt this kid.
and then they call him and they're like, hey, we found this cool baby. I don't,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, fuck. I did kind of feel like the other cops weren't very smart.
When they're like terrified of Annie.
And then also, like, um, the lady who's like, we just got a 911 call. And he's like, okay, why are you telling me? And she's like, because the call came from your house.
Sheriff Brackett, I just got a 911 phone call.
So did you dispatch?
Yes, sir, I did.
So why are you telling me about it?
Yes, sir. Phone call came from your house.
No.
Please, baby, please. I'm gonna stay right here, okay?
Which
Probably.
I fucking like I love them in the first one, but and this is what like the main reason why I love the second one more is like I love them together.
Yes.
They have like we said when we were talking about the mummy with like Zeta and Boris, like they have really good chemistry, whether it's like, romantic or otherwise. And like
Uh-huh.
in here, it's like these two have really good like father-daughter chemistry.
Every interaction they have just feels really natural. They just are like roasting each other all the time. I think it's cute. It seems real. Like when he's like, girls
Yeah.
want to ride, she's like, hell yeah, I want to ride. Like, and then fucking Linda's like, sorry, bacon mobiles make me nauseous. And I'm like, saying that to the sheriff is wild. Like, are you? And he's just so chill
Yeah.
about it. He's like, okay, like, I would be afraid.
Maybe it's because I really liked the original Linda when I was a
Hmm.
kid, but like this one is just
I don't like this
she
one.
sucks so much.
I have it in my notes.
She's just like generic bitch girl.
She is so, because the other Linda was like fun with a
Yeah.
splash of bitchy, but mostly like pretty bubbly and sweet.
Yeah.
This one was just like a dick. And she was like, ah
Yeah.
ha ha, I told the cheerleader coach that I wanted to show everyone my vagina and I can't believe I got in trouble for that. Like, ugh. And it's like, you're not
Yeah.
interesting. And then she calls Lori and she's like, I don't care what Annie thinks. I only care what you think. I'm like, this girl's so lame. Never draw kids. I think kids, like, I don't understand their proportions. Like, why?
Yeah.
They're little humans and they have all the same things that we have, but they're squishy at the same time. Like this child has bags under his eyes. Like this child is
Yeah.
unreasonably stressed. I have to make it not look like an old man.
I was telling you this, but I will just say in the stream, Rob Zombie fucking hated making these movies. Like, he bitches about it to this day. I think he was like, okay, I get to remake this
Awesome.
famous, like,
Yeah.
one of the most famous, like, horror movies. And then, like, the Weinsteins were just, like, always down his throat. Like, well, what are you filming this day? Well, we don't
Oh.
like that. You have to change this in the script, even though, like, you're filming it, like, right now. The producers were also really, like, you have to approve who you cast.
Oh.
So, like, Daniel Harris has talked about this, that they didn't want him to cast her because they wanted somebody quote unquote easier on the eyes.
Oh.
And he like showed her that email and
He
she's like
showed. Oh my God.
and because they were like both like we really want like she's like I really want to be in this movie. He's like I really want you to be in this movie. And the producers were like telling her agent like oh no it's Rob. Rob doesn't want you.
Oh wow.
And Rob's like no like this is the email they sent me. And she's like, you know, because now that's gonna be in my head forever. She's like, I kind of wish he
Aw.
didn't show me, but you know, now I know.
Look how she's so pretty. She's like the prettiest one.
Yeah,
Honestly. What
yeah.
assholes?
I also, I guess, didn't want Scout, and they
Why?
were like, you can have. I guess because they didn't think she was pretty enough either. Because it's like
What?
obviously, if you don't think Daniel Harris is pretty, like,
I'm sorry, what? But
yeah.
whatever.
And so they were like, you can have her if you give us 3 other people, and they all say no. So I guess Rob's way to get Scout in the movie was he picked people that he
He
knew.
knew would say no. It reminds me of like when I've gotten commissions from like really troublesome clients and it's like they hire you because they like your aesthetic and you want to think like, okay, I'm the artist you hired, so you should trust me to make the decisions, and then they micromanage all of your decisions and question everything, and it's like, you hired me, let me do it. It's not a fucking dating show. It's Halloween. Like they don't really
Yeah.
need to be all that hot anyway, and they're beautiful.
And I know like with the filming thing, he apparently started lying and being like, "Oh, we're working on this scene today."
Uh-huh.
And then like actually film like different shit
Wow.
just so they could get the fucking movie done. I know Daniel Harris said Rob Zombie is like the only director she's worked with that if you're doing a nude scene,
Uh-huh.
he's like, I don't want to see your boobs like before this because I guess a lot of times they'll be like,
Oh.
you're gonna be topless, you have to get topless in the
Yeah.
audition. He's like, I don't need to see your boobs like before the day we're filming.
Yeah. I
When those scenes are happening, like nobody's gonna be on set that doesn't need to be on set.
That's
Because I guess
nice.
the Weinsteins were really fucking good about, oh yeah, we want to be there those
Oh,
days.
I'm
And he's like,
sure.
no. Scout, she was 17 when she got the role.
Oh yeah.
And I guess if Rob told her, she's like, if Harvey tries to go in your trailer, like, don't let him.
Oh my
And she
God.
was like, at the time, I was like, I didn't get it.
Oh
She's
yeah.
like, why would he even want to be in there anyway? And she's like, nowadays I get it. She was 17 when she got this role, like I just said.
Uh-huh.
And people sent her death threats for
Why?
getting this role. Like, you're not Laurie Strode. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is Laurie Strode. I hope you die, or I'm gonna come kill you. And I guess Rob
What the
had
fuck?
to be like, look, don't like listen to these people. Like, I picked you. The original's one of my favorite movies. And
Yeah.
when I first found out about this one, I had no desire to see it. I'm like, oh my god, they're trying to ruin one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies. But I'm not gonna send people that are in it death threats. It's weird. I don't even know,
I don't know.
man.
Yeah, that's my like we haven't gotten to final thoughts yet, obviously, but I can already tell you my final thought is I don't even know, man.
Watching the backstory,
Oh.
which takes like half of the movie.
Yes.
Actually, probably more than half of the movie.
There was a point where I was like, what else is gonna happen? We're spending the whole movie with this kid.
Watching it, I feel like Homer in that one Halloween episode where they do the parody of The Shining.
Yes.
Where, like, at the beginning when they're like driving and he's like, we're finally almost there. And then Marge is like, did you remember to lock the door? And
Oh
then
my
he's
God,
like,
yes.
no. And he goes back because it's like, you're sitting there watching and the fucking thing's taking longer than the original. And I'll go through the numbers because I wrote them down.
Please do.
And then you finally get to where he kills his sister and he gets arrested.
Finally.
And you're like, we're finally there. We're gonna get to the actual part of the movie.
Yeah.
And then it goes 11 months later. And then
Emmie.
they show the child
Mm-hmm.
in this fucking mental hospital.
Yep. And he's like,
And
why
they
are
have
we
like
here?
this fucking montage with
Yes.
him and Dr. Loomis, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
And then that goes
exactly.
on forever. He kills a nurse in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then his mom kills herself, and then you're like, finally, we're gonna get to Haddonfield, and we're gonna get to meet Lori.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, we still
Nope.
have like fucking 20 minutes. He's finally an adult now. We
Yep.
still have fucking 20 minutes of him in the mental hospital before he breaks out. And it's like, oh my god, like, you cannot keep doing this.
I was exhausted seeing his shitty childhood, watching him kill all these extra people. Like, I hated them all, but I'm like, I don't need all this. Like, I just want to see
Yeah.
him like stab his sister and be donezo. I saw the 11 months later and I was like, no. What? Like a normal kid and Loomis is like hugging him and he's like, "When can I go home? Like, how is everyone?" Like suddenly he's like a super happy kid. Why does he even want to go home? He's like, "I hate it here in this nice clean building with windows. I want to go back to my shack."
And I don't understand because the mom knows he
Yeah.
did it. Maybe it's because I'm not a mom and I've never been in that situation.
Mhm.
But like, how can you go and just pretend everything's normal with your kid that just murdered your other kid?
That shocked me. I was like, okay, maybe it's that thing that every mom talks about where it's like you just love your child and you would do anything for them, right? So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
she's just like so a mom that even though she lost a baby, like this is still her baby and she loves him. But if you were that much a mom, like you're
Yeah.
that much a mom, why would you then kill yourself when there is a literal baby who didn't kill anyone?
If you watch this movie and you just skip the first half with all the backstory,
Mhm.
it would probably be a lot better. Like, it would still be like stupid.
And you don't feel bad for Michael. It's weird. It's like they want you to feel bad for Michael, but also they're like, he kills animals. So you're like, well, I don't
Yeah,
feel bad
cute.
for him. I don't.
I fucking hate that whole scene where they're
Yeah.
showing the mom like the stuff they found in his locker and they show like that dead cat. And she's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, big deal. He found a dead cat." Like, that kid, we're having a discussion. Like, you either killed a cat or you
Yeah.
found a dead cat.
And put
Like,
it in your
either way.
backpack? Like,
Either way, that's fucked up. But they're showing her the pictures, like this huge fucking stack of pictures he has
yep.
of all these like animals, like cats and dogs and shit that
Yeah.
he's tortured and killed. And
Yeah.
she's like, you think Michael did that? Like,
That killed me.
Michael loves animals. Like, this kid has pictures of dead
Yeah.
animals.
I felt like her acting was so weak. She's like, I have to get back to the strip club. I don't have
Yeah.
time to talk about all these things. They're like, she's like, well, he loves animals. Like, I'm sorry, don't you work like 12-hour days? All you know is
Yeah.
that he has animals that keep dying. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm just asking you, ma'am, to please put two and two together. And then they're like, we would really love for Dr. Loomis to just evaluate him because obviously he's fucked up. And she's like, you can talk to him, but you can't evaluate him. I'm like, oh my God, girl. Like,
The strip club that she works at is called the Red Rabbit Lounge,
yeah.
which for anybody who's seen the original might remember that that is what the matchbook that the nurse
Oh,
had at the beginning, that's what it says on there.
this just makes me appreciate like the original Michael Myers so much because the original Michael is like so quirky and like playful
Yeah.
and like this one is just like a dick. He's just
Yeah.
annoying. And knowing that he's this like weirdo little kid who like had an abominable childhood and now he just hates everything, it
Yeah.
ruins the whole like mystery of Michael.
Also, I don't buy like that kid looks kind of creepy sometimes, sure,
Yeah.
but I don't buy that that kid turns into fucking like 7 foot tall
I was
wrestler man.
thinking that. I was thinking that. And then I hated Dr. Loomis. He's like, ooh, I guess you're my best friend. My life is fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
he's such a butthole.
He has a whole monologue about like, oh, my ex-wife and blah blah blah. And it's like, I didn't need backstory for Michael, and I
No.
don't need backstory for Loomis. Like,
Exactly. I don't need all this information. I don't want to know about your dumb divorce. Like, I don't care. Also, like, you're supposed to be the therapist. Like, what therapist is talking to their patient about, like, I've divorced? Like, my goodness, my marriage only lasted 7 years.
you're
It's
my
like,
best friend, but you won't talk to me anymore. So
I'm
I have to
quitting.
quit and like move on with my life. Him moving on with his life
Is writing a
is
whole book.
releasing, yeah, it's like releasing this book he wrote about Michael
Yeah.
and going on fucking tour. Having all of that, like the day that he breaks out makes it seem like Michael just broke out because like, oh well, Loomis gave up on me. I'm gonna show him.
Yeah. There were a lot of freeze frames.
Yeah.
It was just an odd choice.
In that scene, Michael's wearing his fucking homemade like orange mask,
Y'all,
which
his.
totally gives me like Chester Cheetah vibes.
Oh my God. You're so right. They're kind of cute. I'm like, I'm sorry, this takes the menace away. Like the fact that you were in your room as like a like grown man like making little masks is adorable.
So in the original, the little backstory part, which isn't really backstory, it's just showing him killing his sister,
Uh-huh.
is 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
And 2 minutes and 38 seconds of that is like the opening credits with like the pumpkin and shit. So it's like
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
The Rob Zombie one until the time he gets arrested and it cuts to like the 11 months later
Uh-huh.
is 26 minutes and 7 seconds. It's like 5 times as long.
I don't feel
Yeah.
like I got anything out of it.
The time until we see the like 15 years later in like Haddonfield, like right before we meet Lori, in the original is 11 minutes and 36 seconds. In the Rob Zombie one, it's 49 minutes
Good
and 30
Lord.
seconds.
This is what I really liked about the original, like older movies in general. They trust their audience. They're like, I'm going to show you Michael. Here he is. He's stabbing his
Yeah.
sister. Arrested. Boom. They just show like the parents come home, be like, what the fuck? And
Yeah.
they're like, our audience knows that this kid obviously was annoyed at his sister, killed her for whatever reason. It doesn't even matter. And then he goes away because you're not actually supposed to kill your sister. Like the newer movie is like, oh, I don't know if they'll get it. Like first we need to show him with the sister, and then we need to show why he's mad at the sister, and then we need to show him thinking about killing his sister, and then we need to show him killing his sister, and then we need to show the
Yeah.
reactions. It's just overkill.
I hate the fact that they introduce the mask
Yeah, I
so
didn't like
fucking
that.
early, like when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I much prefer it being something he finds later.
It did have a little bit of Friday the 13th vibes with that guy pooping and dying.
Yes, I did think of that.
Yeah.
I didn't make a note of it, but I did think it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, on the toilet. What an awful way to go.
The Danny Trail was the only one who's nice to you about that fucking hospital, and
Mhm.
R.I.P. to him, he still gets fucking murdered.
I didn't think he deserved that, man.
I also want to mention, I didn't make a note of it, but I just remembered how fucking disgusting Michael's feet are.
Yeah, they were so
Because they like
bad.
show them so
I
many times,
know.
and I'm like, oh,
Why
like
did they
don't
do
you don't they let you shower at this point? Yeah. Then we are finally introduced to Annie,
Yes.
aka Danielle Harris, 54 minutes into this fucking movie.
They're the main characters, and it takes us like an hour to meet them.
Guy at cemetery roasting Loomis. Which
Yeah. I
is
loved
so
that.
funny. Like, oh, that fucking doctor wrote a book and made
Talk
a whole bunch
about
of blood
blood.
money.
Yes. He was like, I read that book. It was a masterpiece. Like-
And the doctor involved. I think he wrote a book or something. Fucking blood money.
Yeah, I read that book. It was a masterpiece.
Sheriff bracket, and it's the I read your book and I
Mhm.
don't like you.
Yes. Like, listen, I know who you are. I read your book. I hate you. Oh, yeah, I already kind of said this, but I wrote in my notes, like, we are zooming through these killings. There's, like, no suspense.
Yeah.
Like, the fun part of Original Ween is him, like, slowly stalking through the house and, like, tricking them with the ghost thing and, like, building the suspense of, like, oh my God, they don't know someone's behind them. But they didn't have time for any of that. It was just like Michael walks in,
Yeah.
he strangles them, he stabs them.
Everything that made like Michael like so creative and cool in the original, it's like they take away. It's like he didn't decide on that mask. He didn't come up with the sheet thing in here like he did
Yeah.
in the original. Like Bob did. While he's out getting her a beer,
Mm-hmm.
she calls Lori and she's like
Yeah.
sitting there fucking bitching about
Bitching.
Annie.
Also, just the fact that you just had sex and the first thing you want to do is call your friend and bitch about your other friend. Like, you
Yeah.
suck.
It's like, oh, I don't even care like what Annie thinks.
And she's like, I care what you
Yeah.
think, though. And I'm like, dude, just fucking have sex with Lori then, because maybe you'll actually be present in the moment. There's a whole
Which that
subplot
would-
there.
That would have been interesting,
Mhm.
knowing that Scout's bisexual in real life.
When because I didn't know she was going to survive, so I was really thrilled that she did.
Yeah.
But she's laying there and she's stabbed and she's naked and she's crying and she's saying like he's in the house and fucking Lori
Yes.
is just like, oh
That's-
my God,
that's in my notes,
baby,
too.
baby, it's gonna be okay. Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna go call 911. I'm closing the door and I'm leaving you alone. And then she's just like, and the poor Annie is like screaming for her. And she's just like, be quiet.
What happened? I'm gonna call the police. I'm gonna get Baby! Baby, hold on, okay? I need to come.
Lori really walked in, saw Annie, and was like, oh my God, this is so hard for me to deal with. I need a moment, and leaves.
Before that, like when Michael's like attacking her, I don't know about you, but like watching that, I always am just like, oh, like it seems painful, like when he's dragging her bare boobs
Oh, I know.
on that like hardwood floor, and
I
you like hear them
know.
like squeaking. I'm like,
Oh.
that had to hurt so fucking much.
That part was hard. I was so
Yeah.
annoyed at Lori in the second one for like being mean to Annie. I was like, can you
Oh,
just
dude.
what the fuck is your problem?
I actually prefer the director's cut because it has more, like, has scenes where they're like fighting. They made Rob like cut those scenes out or like shorten them because they're like, this makes Lori, who's our main protagonist, very unlikable, and do you have to like change it?
Mm,
I kind of like that they make her unlikable because it kind of shows that Scout is a good actress.
yeah.
Because it's like she's completely different from how she is in here. But like it makes some of the scenes in the second one make more sense. Like when she finds out from Dr. Lewis's book that she's Michael's
Yes.
sister, and then she's like sitting there screaming at Annie. And I don't think in the theatrical cut Lori really explains why she fights with Annie. In the director's cut in one of the therapy things, she's like, I know it's not Annie's fault, but like when I see the scars on her face from like Michael, she's just like a constant reminder of
I
like what
think
happened to me.
thought that was like one of the better scenes in the movie because I was like, oh, they're
Yeah.
actually getting into like the trauma of what they've been through. But then,
Yeah.
ugh. I was gonna ask because I remember you saying, doesn't Rob Zombie like put his wife in these movies?
Yeah, she plays Michael's mom,
Oh, okay. I thought
which
so.
explains why
Why she's there?
yeah.
I was so confused when the movie started and it was this quote about a fucking white horse and then I was like, are we fucking back in the fucking I was like, I can't do this anymore. I think this was when Loomis was saying all the Freud stuff and he was like, we all want to fuck our moms and kill our dads. And I was like, I don't have those feelings. Like, this
Yeah,
is the stupidest shit.
thank you.
Ugh.
I also think that when I watch that, I'm like, I have never wanted to do any of that.
And then I thought, if you believed it, and I feel like a lot of people do, if you believe that your children are out here having weird, immature sexual fantasies about you, why the fuck would you have them? I don't want that in my home. Like, that's so
Yeah.
creepy. Ew.
I
Ugh.
don't know.
I was like, Loomis, stop saying that like it's a fact. He's like, we all have these feelings. I'm like, do we though? Do we? Ew. No, we don't.
I don't think somebody who would be a victim of like a serial killer like this
Mm-hmm.
would develop an obsession with Charles Manson like Lori does.
Right.
But I don't think that was a Scout decision. I think that was a Rob Zombie decision because he shoves Charles Manson shit in like all of his movies.
Yeah, because in the first movie, I just thought her character was kind of basic and annoying. And I was like,
Yeah.
she really doesn't even have anything to work with. She's just mostly screaming and crying. Yeah, her character does such a 180 where she's like a crazy person and she's just like screaming and crying. She's like, I'm not me. And her friends are like, okay, like, who are
Yeah.
you? Like, yeah, I fully believed her like mental breakdown. She's like, I don't even care anymore. I want to party. I'm like, this girl's going through it. Like, it was giving me Degrassi Next Generation vibe when Loomis is at the book signing and Linda's dad is there. And he's like, you don't recognize her? And I'm like, who would recognize? Like, she sucks. I'm sorry. And then the guy's like, you butchered my baby. And I thought that was so funny. Like,
You butchered my baby. Back up.
It's all right.
You butchered my baby.
Can we get somebody?
I'm going to get you, Loomis, sir.
the alliteration was just solid. Like, you butchered my baby.
And then I also like after that when they're leaving and his like assistant is like, well, the police said the gun wasn't loaded.
Yeah. Look, she's
You're
like,
overreacting. I do want to mention the like 20-minute opening, which was fucking Laurie's dream. I honestly think that that was just in there because they're like, well, the original Halloween 2 takes
Yeah.
place in a hospital.
the people wheeling her and she's like screaming if she's gonna die.
Yeah,
And the lady's
I
like,
also have that note. I forgot about that.
she's just like having the time of her life. Like, she's having so much fun. She's like, we're
Yeah.
gonna need euro. We're gonna need blah blah. Like, she's like announcing things and she's like, and now we're gonna lift her. 1, 2, 3. It's like,
The ambulance guys are creepy and disgusting.
I was
And then in
sick.
parentheses, I have, and Linda wasn't even that hot.
Mhm.
They're going on and on about how hot Linda's naked, dead body was.
There's only one guy who was like, guys, you need to stop. That's disgusting. I
Yeah.
get that, like, they do stuff like this because you know that those people are going to die, so it makes it less scary and more entertaining that they're going to die. But I still
Yeah.
was like, this is a lot.
And then I put Michael sawing off creepy dude's head
Dude, that
because,
was. So I didn't watch that part because
yeah.
obviously,
I
but
mean, I don't think they show a lot of like, I mean, they like show like a little bit, but it's not as gross as the hospital thing.
yeah. But
But I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that this guy did get his comeuppance.
so I didn't watch it, but I did hear it happening, which was almost
Yeah.
probably worse, but I was like, ew.
Well, like John Carpenter says, what you don't see is worse than what you do see.
Exactly.
The nurse is Octavia Spencer.
I know. How random was that?
Which I think this is the first thing I saw her in.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen her in other things, it's weird to go back and be like,
That's
there she
Octavia
is.
Spencer. It's just so not her normal thing. That's how I felt when I
Yeah.
saw Paul Rudd in that horrible sixth movie. I'm like,
Yeah. She's like going to like reprimand Lori for like being in Annie's room. There she's sitting there like, oh my god, Annie, don't die. Like
I know.
But then like Octavia Spencer comes in, it's like, you gotta go back to your own room. She's like,
Mhm.
no, just please let me stay there here. I like won't bother her. And it's like, you're being so loud right now.
You're
Like, you're
screaming at
gonna-
her. I just imagine like I'm fucking like trying to live my life and you're screaming at me. Like, leave me alone.
You're
Don't
telling
die
me not to die,
I'll
which
die
like
if I want to,
I'm like
okay?
fine. Loomis wrote another fucking book about Michael.
He's like that girl who like you have your like you break up as friends and they're like, I'm not even interested, like I don't want you in my life anymore, and you're like, okay, and then they just go talk shit about you to everyone else, and it's like that's
Yeah.
Loomis. He's like, Michael, we are breaking up. I have to retire. I'm so sick of you and your issues. And then he goes and writes a whole book about it. And Michael's like, why are you so obsessed with me?
He also has that huge fucking meltdown where he's like, Michael Myers is dead.
Dude.
Let me make things nice and sparkling clear. Michael Myers is fucking dead. Now, do you brain dead gossip mongers want me to spell that out for you? D-E-A-D.
He's so unhinged. Like, he's
but
like,
not in a fun way.
oh my god, Emmie, I was thinking that because I was like, usually I love, because he's such a dick to everyone, and usually I love
Yeah.
like a smart asshole. I'm like on their side. But I was not on his side. He's walking around. He's pissed at Weird Al. He's like doing his talk. And then he's like, listen, you brain dead, driveling morons. And I'm like, oh my God, what? No one's going to buy your book if you talk to them like that. And then Weird Al, it's Weird Al. Like, of course he's going to make jokes. Like, that's what he does. And then he's like all pissed that that's happening.
Yeah. The Weird Al part is cut into two. Because it's like when it was actually happening, and then the other half's like when Dr. Loomis was watching it.
Yeah.
And then that's when they have the Mike Myers reference.
Chill. Like, you're on TV. You got to talk about your book. Like, you're doing just fine.
I have the like dream vision things that Michael have of his mom are really stupid.
Oh my God. I can't believe, I really did not like those. She's like, oh, Michael, you know I'm not really here. And it's just like, what are we watching right now?
Just a weird decision, all the like weird dreams in
I
here.
thought the dream, it to me, it felt like they were trying to do like Halloween 5 when Danielle Harris was having the like dream connection to Michael.
Yeah.
And I was like, are they copying that?
Sheriff Brackett is like, I need you to go to my house and like watch Annie. And he's like, oh man, like
I know.
she's not gonna like that. The cops like last year when you made me do that, she like kicked me in the nuts.
I saw that. I did see that.
I also like love that scene when they show like when he's there and they're arguing and he's like, well, I'm here because the boss told me to, and she's like, well, I'm the boss of the boss.
Yes.
And I told you to get the fuck off my
I
porch.
know. She's like, well, I'm the boss's boss. I was like, I fucking love her.
Annie's death, and I have a little like broken heart
I know.
drawing. I
It
was
kind of
so sad.
it made me sad because like she survived the first one when I didn't expect her to, so I was just like, oh, well, now
Yeah.
she has to die. Like, oh. I already
So yeah.
said my final thought, which was, I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah.
this movies.
I guess if you want to watch Dr. Loomis be a fucking egotistical asshole and don't
Mhm.
care and turns into Chris Evans by the end.
Ew, it's true. He does turn into Chris Evans. I drew the baby. I did it. I didn't think I could, but I did. So everyone
You
praise me.
also showed him being very creepy, so
Yeah, he is. Ugh. Bye, guys.
bye.